Welcome back to another great episode. Today we're going to be talking about foam rolling your lower body. Now let's begin by telling you the biggest misconception that we see happening at the gym all the time, and that is foam rolling your IT band. So Erin, why is foam rolling your IT band not even a thing?
Your IT band is actually a tendon, and when you see people rolling on their side right here, yes, though your IT band sits right there, you can't add length to a tendon. So what we're really gonna do is foam roll the TFL and quad that are right surrounding that tendon.
Yes. So the benefits of foam rolling is that there's two benefits to it. Number one, it allows to activate the muscle, because when you foam roll, doesn't matter what foam roller you use, basically what happens is that area sends a signal to the brain that tells the brain, okay, get ready to activate. Okay, so this is basically that body part getting ready to do work. Okay, so that is benefit number one. Benefit number two, and again, that is another misconception that we see, is that it provides greater elasticity within the muscle. So now there's a difference between flexibility and elasticity. So now if you're going to be foam rolling, then don't think that suddenly your muscles are going to be flexible, but yes, they're going to be elastic, which will allow them to be more flexible with time. Okay, so just so you know that.
Number three,
yes,
when you're foam rolling, we're going to talk about this a little bit more in technique, but you'll see people, or maybe even yourself, you've got on the ground. I know I've done this when I'm mindlessly foam rolling, and you just roll back and forth, roll back and forth, roll back and forth.
Oh yeah, texting.
Which is not going to be the best way for you to foam roll. So we're going to go over that in the technique portion of this.
Yeah. When is the best time to foam roll? Obviously, because we are sending the brain a signal that we're getting ready to work, the best time to foam roll is prior to your workout. But the reality is that because we're focusing on elasticity too, whatever you can be most consistent with. So let's say if you're pressured for time when you get to the gym and you know that you don't really have time to foam roll, that's fine. Get to your workout. As long as you foam roll afterwards, whether it's at home or in your office, it doesn't really matter. As long as you get it done at some point, then you are helping your muscles to have greater elasticity, okay? But if there is a good time to do this, the best time would be prior to.
It also sends a signal when you put that pressure on your muscles for your brain to allow the muscle to release and to relax. So if you're feeling really tight too, you can really foam roll any time of day. It doesn't just have to be before your workout, but it also helps prevent injury because you're giving your muscles that elasticity, you're helping to loosen the muscles, so when you do go for a movement, or if you have to make a sudden movement in a certain range of motion, your muscles are ready and prepared to stretch at a certain length, so you're less likely to be injured. So let's get to the technique.
We're only gonna talk about the lower body portion of today. So Erin, let's begin with hip flexors. So Erin's going to lay down facing the floor with her hip flexor, which is this area. Basically the hip flexor connects your leg and your hips, so that area. And what you're gonna do is set your hip flexor on the foam roller. You know when you found that spot when it starts to feel a little tender, you almost have that aha feeling. Slightly tingly, uncomfortable. So what you want to do when you foam roll your hip flexor is bend your knee and externally rotate. Okay, what we're doing here is we're lengthening our hip flexor as we're doing that, and therefore we're exposing more of the hip flexor. Okay, so what you'll want to do is 5 to 10 reps, and whatever you do to one side you do to the next. So the first region we'll begin with is hip flexor 5 to 10 reps on your left side, and then 5 to 10 reps on your right side. So as you're noticing, Erin is not just like rolling back and forth like she's on a roller coaster ride. She's intentionally setting pressure on that target area. So target area number 1, hip flexor. Right after you're done with the hip flexor on that same side, I will just move to the TFL area. And when it comes to foam rolling, you want to go cross section. With the hip flexor, because the hip flexor runs down, okay, longitudinally, when you foam roll your hip flexor, you go back and forth, so across the muscle. TFL is the same, okay, because it runs down, you'll want to go back and forth, okay, as you go all the way down. So I will say, when you start from the top, setting your TFL on the foam roller, you basically go down and back. As Erin's doing this, let's talk about the different types of foam rollers out there. So there's the soft ones, which you'll find at most gyms. I would recommend for anybody, start out with that, because the softer it is, the less pressure you're putting on your muscles, okay? Just like with weightlifting, just like with endurance, you can't start all out when you're just getting used to it, okay? So literally have your tissues get used to that pressure. So soft one, this foam roller is degree number 2, and this foam roller with the rumblers is degree number 3. Okay, next up we have the front and the back, and that is the quads and your hamstrings. So remember, when it comes to foam rolling, we foam roll muscles, not tendons, not joints. Reason is blood doesn't get to the area on that same concentration, therefore you do not need to foam roll those, okay? So since your quad goes down, we're gonna go cross section from side to side, all the way down, all the way up.
I like to think of it like a tube of toothpaste. If you squeeze it in the middle, it works for a period of time, but it's more efficient if you start from one end or the other end. And as you're going, you're rolling like this, and then you come down a little bit more. When you feel another tender spot, you stay there. You cross section, come down, you feel another spot, right? So that's what Sarit means when she's saying rock side to side and down and up, as you're gonna do small increments at a time. You can literally be foam rolling for an hour and you'll still feel tightness and you'll still feel tenderness in areas. If it's for warm-up purposes, focus on one area that is closest to the joint until it really starts to loosen up and you don't feel it as tender. When you're foam rolling just on your own outside of workout just to loosen up the muscles, then take your time and as long as you need.
Okay, next up we got the hamstring, hammies. So the hamstring is that back muscle right here, okay? We always begin with what we call the insertion, so right underneath that butt area. So I want you to think of your foam rolling journey just like your weight loss and fitness journey. You can't really get the full benefits of foam rolling from a single session, okay? I would recommend focus on consistency just like everything else. 5 minutes prior to your workout, or if you're crunched for time, you only have like an hour at the gym, then do it at some point later in the day, okay? But 5 minutes a day over time, within a year, within 3 years, will come a really long way, will help you recover faster, will help you avoid and limit injury, and that is huge, because as you keep progressing, that is when you need to activate more muscle groups. So while you're in a figure 4 position, see how Erin is basically going from one side to the next.
If you can't feel much on this, this is where you would want to grab a more aggressive foam roller or a lacrosse ball or a softball or something that is more trigger point into the area and less smooth surface area. If you need more pressure because you're gonna need to lift, you might not feel this. Just throw your other leg on top and put that downward pressure into the foam roller. You might need it, you might not need it, and then you'll lift. This is difficult for some people to hold this position for a while. So this is also where something smaller or more trigger point would come in handy, like a lacrosse ball or
or this. That's why you see this very often. That's targeted for the calves because you don't have to get yourself into really awkward positions. But if you're down for it, we figured we'll show you everything under the sun. So remember, biggest take-home points. We don't foam roll tendons, we foam roll muscles. The purpose of it is to activate your muscles and to provide greater elasticity. This is going to help you recover and get better workouts, and this is going to help you remain injury-free as you're going throughout the journey. The best time to foam roll is prior to your workout, but if you know that you're stressed for time or pressed for time, then it doesn't matter when you do it as long as your consistency is king. Okay, and then lastly, you don't need to foam roll your entire body every single day unless you choose to, especially if you know that you only got 5 minutes, because you can't get that much done in 5 minutes. Focus on the body parts that are going to be activated the most. So you will want to do those lower body specific foam rolling on days where you do deadlifts, on days where you do squats, on any running day, or on any day when you know that your lower body will be the dominant activator. Okay? Remember, consistency is key. And
we're gonna go over several upper body movements on another episode, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. See you next time.